Welcome back, my rogues. Today's question is children of sex workers. How did you find out what your parent did? And what attitude towards sex did they instill in you? Hope you enjoy. My mum was a stripper on and off for years. I'm pretty sure she did more than strip too. She had a pretty terrible relationship with her family. So when I was born she moved away and we traveled a lot. We lived mostly with her girlfriends as my mum has been a lesbian since forever. Which makes her sex work even weirder. An easy job she could find was sex work. I found out when I was an early teenager. It wasn't like I just found out all of a sudden. Eventually I just put the pieces together, a couple of the hints. Constantly working late nights, like till 4 a.m. A ton of makeup, a large collection of lingerie and risk outfits. Bringing random dudes home with her. A lot of friends were like that too. I see the plot writers at Pornhub on Reddit again. My mum was a prostitute. I didn't live with her, but she came around when she needed a place to stay. My grandmother always let her come home. One day, when I was 18, I saw my mum hop in the Jeep of a dude who was probably only 23 years older than I was. As they drove off, my buddy asked me, "Dude, was that your mum?" It was at that moment that it truly hit me what she was doing. Basically, it created a kind of Madonna whore complex in me. I don't really appreciate women who openly flaunt their sexuality, but I do respect their right to do whatever. In practice this means I prefer prudes, or at least women who are inconspicuous about their sexuality. My parents weren't sex workers, but they did work in the sex industry. It was never a secret what they did. I was often taken to the workplace when I was little, always sequestered from anything graphic or potentially harmful, and it wasn't a big deal. Things were explained to me in very child-friendly, age-appropriate ways, and sex was never presented as a taboo. I always loved the sex industry and wanted to be a part of it. And now I'm a sex worker myself. I found out what my father did because he did it to me, and to this day I still get uncomfortable around the idea of sex, and I don't trust men at all. Back in 2018, while I was working in Japan, during Christmas time, I stayed with a single mother and her 8-year-old daughter. We matched on Bumble. She was 28 and I was 22. She invited me to stay with her during my stay in Japan. About 2 months or so left of my stay. She wasn't the best mother, though I can't judge. She would leave me to stay with her daughter, despite she had only known me for a few days and I only spoke English. She would leave at erratic hours, leaving her daughter and I at the house. I'd cook for us and we'd play Nintendo Switch. Eventually, she'd come back from her work, shower, change, then stash cash yen in a drawer her daughter showed me. We all spent a lot of time together as a pseudo-family, going to restaurants, markets, arcades, etc. But when we'd go to bars together with her friends, a lot of dudes knew who she was and would ask if she was still working. Her friends seemed a bit confused of my position as well. I remember asking about it, and she said I'm not a good girl. The days afterwards, when she was out at work, I asked her daughter what she thought her mum did for work. TBH. I was probably out of place for doing that. Her daughter spoke Japanese and I spoke English, so we could only understand each other through translators. I downloaded a Japanese keyboard, and she typed to me, "My mother meets with different men every day." I was concerned, so I asked what she meant. She replied that her school friends' parents would tell them that she was a woman who had sex with married men for money. It was so sad that she had this understanding of her mother at such an early age. I never thought of her differently, since she's a single mother taking care of her daughter and also provided a temporary home for me. About a year later, I had work in Japan again and reached out to her. I wanted to check on them, especially her daughter. We spent a few days together, but by the last night together she had drank too much and come clean about her sex work and guilt of being a mother. Apparently, that year, her daughter told her she was embarrassed for her, and couldn't have friends because the parents prevented their children to spend time with her. The teachers even preferred not to speak with her due to concerns regarding image from other parents. I still think about her daughter. Can't tell if all these responses are fake. Should have put a serious tag. My mum charged me 10 to tuck me in, 30 for a bedtime story, and 35 for half and half. We had a friend male whose mum worked for a popular establishment. All his friends knew. They gave him.
Hope you liked this video. Stay frosty, my rebels.